beautiful souls. Therese here, and welcome to our final week of March Madness. And it's a whopper. All right, so let's get into what's going on this week. We've got two major events that happen in the last week of March, and that is the new moon plus solar eclipse in Aries. And I think the biggest event to happen is the first of, I think, 5 major planetary changes. And that is Neptune switching from Pisces, which is the sign it rules, into the sign of Aries, where it has not been since the 1800s, which means in our lifetime, we've never experienced Neptune and Aries energy. And these two things are happening back to back. So the first one is the new moon plus solar eclipse happening in the sign of Aries on March 29th. Now, this one is interesting because this will be the 6th consecutive new moon at 9 degrees. Now, in numerology, 9 represents the end, but we're celebrating a new moon, which represents the beginning. So again, we've got this ending, beginning. And this one has an extra push of beginning, but also an extra push of ending because we're dealing with an eclipse, which would represent a change, which means something is shifting, so therefore ending. But it's in the sign of Aries, which is the cardinal sign of the beginning of the seasons, beginning of the zodiac. It is a huge new beginning. So there is a major shift that is happening with this energy. And the number 9, we're in a 9 universal year. Both the sun and the moon will be at 9 degrees. So there's an extra emphasis on this 9. So let's look at the number 9 really quick. When we're looking at the number 9, we're looking at a culmination, right? So if we were to look at what the numbers 1 through 9 represents in terms of a journey, 1 would be like planting the seed of a tree, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, the tree's growing and it's developing. When it gets to about the number 8, now we have fruit coming off of the tree. So it's manifested. And the number 9 is about sharing the knowledge. Either you take that seed out of that apple and you pass it to someone else, or you plant it again and you start a new cycle. So 9 is really about the accumulation of the whole cycle that you just went through. It's understanding the process. And there is a pay it forward energy. It's not enough to just understand it. Now you must share that knowledge, right? We have to pay it forward. We have to, take the apples from the tree and share them with other people so that can continue. We can propagate a new process. Otherwise, everything we've done is sort of meaningless. If it only develops once and then it's done, then it hasn't really evolved. And so 9 represents this evolution. It's the understanding of the process and the evolution into the next stage. And then you add the eclipse to it. Now the eclipse is like a portal, if you will. And the first eclipse that you have and the second eclipse, they always come back to back. It's like I see this portal when I look at eclipses. So there's an opening here and an opening over here. And then in the interim, you're learning what's shifting sort of as you're moving through this wormhole of energy. So we're about to come out of this wormhole of this shift energy. And there's something about us that is fundamentally, we understand something differently. Now, if we look at the energy of it, there was a Mercury retrograde going on, still is going on, and the Venus retrograde still going on. So not only did we go through this wormhole where we're shifting something and we're coming out the other side different, we know that there was a major emphasis on reviewing your communications with others and your relationships with other people, also your relationship to money, and trying to assess what's working, what about my thought process shows up in my communications, or how do I interpret what people are saying to me, and how do I express what I'm saying, and what do I value in relationships? What do I value in my financial sphere? How do I look at these things? And we're going through that wormhole energy of the eclipse, and it's something shifting. You're going to see it. I had a major aha moment myself in some long held thought. I'm talking from childhood, like early childhood, long held thought. And during this twisting and things not quite connecting, right? Because when we're in retrograde, everything sort of internalizes. So you have to go inward to get the answer. If you're trying to make the answer come out from the external space, you feel like you're not getting anything. But if you take whatever lack of feedback or whatever resistance, or even might feel like something's pushing against you and trying to stop you, if you take that and you take it inward and go, why does this affect me? Well, the answer will be right there. So, but it feels a little bit like going through the spin cycle of a washing machine, or if you've ever watched that TV show Stargate and they go through the wormhole and they take you through this like animation of this long extended wormhole, kind of feels like that. And you feel a little discombobulated, but you'll come out the other side with something crystallized, something that needs to shift. Hopefully, if you're doing that, again, it's just an internal view, just asking yourself questions. Sometimes we have to dig a little deeper, but if you're asking the questions and you're sitting with it, not avoiding it, you're going to come out the other side with something crystallized for you that needs to shift. And so this is happening with this big solar eclipse, new moon energy. Now, I haven't heard any details about this solar eclipse being particularly dominant. Like, we had a full lunar eclipse, which means it was the blood moon, right? Meaning it was a full kind of blackout. I don't know where people will be seeing this solar eclipse, but what's important to understand when we're working with any eclipse, especially with a new moon solar eclipse, is there's a disruption of energy. So usually with a new moon, what we're working on is trying to draw something in, to actively pull it towards us. With an eclipse, you don't want to do that, because you imagine there being a short circuit in the line, or a break in your line. If you were fishing, right, you have your fishing line, well, an eclipse would represent a little break or a snap in that line, so it would not be effective. So it's not really an effective time for manifestation, but it is a good time to allow yourself to feel the magnetic energy that you're being pulled towards something and something is being pulled toward you. So it's like the phrase, whatever you're wanting wants you. Whatever you're calling in is calling you. So it's a time to stop and recognize that there is what's meant for you won't miss you. It's magnetically connected to you. So it's a better time for focusing on that rather than trying to actively pull something in. By the way, there's several ways that I can help you work with this new moon solar eclipse energy. If you look in the description below, you will see a couple of opportunities to work with me live. One of them is the new moon plus solar eclipse spirit circle happening in Aries, and that's happening on March 29th. It is a live event. You can join me. I'll take you through the process and explain to you what the universe is sort of guiding us to focus on. We do live channeling and psychic Q&A. It's really fun, and the link is in the description below. And I also have a gratitude water vessel ritual happening on the Insight Timer app. That is a free event. The link is also below, and that's another way you can join me and work with this energy live on the day that it's happening. I hope to see you there. Now let's get to the surprisingly even bigger event happening the day after. On March 30th, Neptune will now move into the sign of Aries, where it will be hanging out throughout October, and then it'll probably do a retrograde back into Pisces one last time and then again move. That's kind of how the planets do it. They sort of like shift. They give you a preview, if you will, of the energy of the new sign, and then they shift back, and it's kind of like, what did you learn in this cycle, and with this energy, and then as you adjust that, they bring it back over here. So that's kind of what a retrograde will do. So we're going to see that dance, but we're coming up to the preview of Neptune in Aries. Now, as I said before, Neptune is the natural ruler of Pisces, and so that energy is very potent and strong and a little bit cleaner in a way, if that makes sense. It's just because it works together. There was a lot of emphasis on sort of the dreamy, more etheric aspects of spirituality. With Neptune and Pisces, we really sort of opened that whole thing up. Even things like more esoteric concepts became more mainstream. We really saw that during this time. When Neptune shifts into Aries, we've got the need to activate our spiritual understanding. So Neptune represents both the spiritual nature, but our most idealistic nature. So whatever it is you believe is the ideal, the thing that we should be working towards, whether it's unity consciousness, or whether it's environmentalism or justice, or whatever it is that you are idealizing as the best form of society. And Neptune is considered an outer planet, so this sort of works on a social scale versus the personal scale. It touches on your personal stuff, but it has more of you see kind of a mass effect with the outer planets. It represents a theme that's going on in society. When Neptune moves into Aries, that dreamy spiritual energy is there, but suddenly we want to take it into action, which is what Aries does. Aries is that warrior energy. It's the pioneer, it's the initiator, it's going to get out there and do it. And so it's like having these spiritual ideals that you were sort of holding on to and just sitting with. It suddenly they want to activate, or you want to make it more actively a part of your life. So seeing spiritual concepts and principles sort of like maybe being activated is something that we can start to see. I don't know if we're going to see it right away. There's a preview. We feel it first and then we start acting on it. And remember, with the external planets, they have a longer cycle in a sign, so it has a sort of a slow rolling buildup that you start to see over time. It's not something you're going to see right away, but people making a stand for their principles is something that we're going to see even more of. Now, this combination is a tricky one, and it doesn't always work out well. So if you're working with the sort of the darker combination of this planet, which is the illusory, so not really being in reality, but being in sort of a self-created reality. And if you lean into the impulsivity, this can lead to kind of negative results. And that's how it is, right? If we focus on something delusional and then we impulsively act on it without further investigation or really grounding it to something, then it usually just doesn't work out for us. So that's the darker combination, is sort of the dreamy, illusory with impulsivity. And that can lead to a lack of it's like a firecracker that's a dud, right? You go to light it and you expect it to take off, but it doesn't have all the components there. And so it just kind of blows up in your face, or it just doesn't work at all. That's the negative side. The positive combo side is taking that mysticism, that being able to tap into that spiritual energy, really tap in and giving it a dynamic form. But it requires grounding. It requires us to ground the energy. So it's kind of like lightning, right? So lightning just going through the sky without something to ground to, it's pretty maybe, or it's fantastical, but it doesn't do anything, or it's destructive, right? Hits a tree, hits a car, hits a person, and doesn't have the positive effect. But lightning with a grounding rod, well, that becomes electricity. That's the being able to utilize spiritual energy and take it into form and really make something amazing, like something that's life-changing and conductive and practical, but effective and mysterious at the same time. We have electricity. We use electricity. I'm using electricity right now. But do I fully understand how it works? No, I just understand that there's this etheric energy that we can tap into. We've learned how to ground it and move it through technology, other types of interfaces that work with, I guess it's all technology. Is that what you would call anything that's electric? Would we call it technical? I'm guessing so. But we've learned how to harness that, and we can do amazing things with it. And we keep coming up with new ways to use that type of energy. So this is a really good metaphor to help us understand that this energy, when not grounded in something, when not grounded with something really true, like universally true, a real truth, if it doesn't have that grounding wire and you're not focusing, so we need to focus and we need to ground in order to utilize this energy and make something magnificent. If we're not focused or grounded, it's either nothing happens or it's destructive. So as we focus and ground ourselves, we utilize this energy, and then it's like straight up magic, right? It's so mysterious. It's so like it's happening, but you can see it, you can touch it, you can experience it, but you really still don't know. There's so much mystery with it too. It's like, I don't know how this is working, but it works. So I can see in a time period like this, literally Nikola Tesla's energy, like free energy, could very possibly be fully, I know it already exists, but I could see it fully being utilized in this period, or something like that. The pyramids, right, with the Tesla coil looking pillars underneath it that look like they almost are connected to some kind of charging box, or like a grounding box. I'm still, there's still much we're going to learn about these. So I'm not even trying to say I know what that is, but it looks like that. And isn't it interesting? It all starts showing up. It's all being revealed right next to this Neptune and Aries energy. So think about free energy. Think about electricity and how we've harnessed it. That kind of combination, magical, amazing, and so beneficial. I mean, if we get free energy in our lifetime, it'll be an ultimate game changer for every single person on this planet. And that kind of thing could very well happen inside a Neptune Aries combination. Again, if we are grounding it to something real and practical, and we are focusing ourselves. So that's leads me to the message from the team at this time, which is definitely talking about, okay, now that you know this energy is available, one, focus on what you're magnetizing to you. And if you go back to last week, if you watched last week's karma cards, one of the things I talked about was how everybody at the campfire has their own, like their own unique reason for being there, and it adds to the collective. And this is a great time to consider, okay, if I use that metaphor or something like it, what is my purpose for being here? There's your focus. Now ground that energy. If I believed that I am a spiritual representative, which is one of the things I believe, how am I going to use that? How am I going to ground that energy? I'm focusing it. Now, how do I ground it? If I'm here to nurture, how am I going to focus that energy and then ground it, right? Because we need these two things in place to make this incredible shift. And you don't have to worry about other people's parts. And that's something else to consider, is that maybe you're looking around at the world and you're like, there's so much that needs changing and fixing, and I can't do it all. You're not supposed to do it all. You're supposed to feel your magnetic alignment and trust that. And if you trust that, if you're here to be an artist, right? So there's the focus. Now, how do you ground that? How do you want to use that energy? There's so many ways we can use something like art as an example, right? We can use it in practical ways. We can use it in spiritual ways. We can use it in demonstrative ways. We can use it in expressive ways. There's so many ways to use that energy. How are you going to ground it? Don't worry about what other people are doing or how they're doing it, because again, when we only have the ability to focus on one area at a time, we can either focus on what's going on in here or what's going on out there. And I really feel like one of the messages the team's trying to get to is like, and they've said this before, if you're focusing on what's going out there and trying to shift other people, shift thoughts and opinions, shift viewpoints, yes, we all want that. We all want something that matches more like what we feel. But remember, homogeny of thought isn't going to happen, and that's not evolution. We need we need all those different players playing their parts, so that there's not homogeny. If you're focusing on the spiritual and someone's focusing on the practical, that's not homogenous, but it is cooperative. So that's what we're looking at. Anyway, if we're focusing on what's going on out there, we are not grounded or focused. We lose focus. And again, think about it like a camera, right? So when a camera focuses in, I don't even know, let's see if I can go out of focus. I'll try. this camera I'm using is like, no, you're over here. I can't even do it. But I was trying to focus on the background. So if we're able to tweak this camera to focus on the background, get a lot of clarity on like these flowers right here. If I were to do that, then I go out of focus. All right, I'm very focused on these flowers, but then I'm out of focus. And what that looks like psychologically is if I'm worried about what everybody else is thinking and doing, I have no control or awareness on this or on that because I can't change it. And you're watching people in the world still trying to do that. And I think that it's part of emotional, spiritual, mental development to understand that, right? But it is a form of suffering, and it's also not productive. There's nothing productive about trying to control something that's outside of you. You just don't have the power there. All the power is here, right? So when we're focusing on the outside world and I want it to change, I don't like this, whatever's happening needs to stop, all that stuff, well, we go out of focus, and therefore we lose the focus and the grounding. There's just nothing I can do. So the power that's floating around me like the electricity won't be tethered to anything, and I can't make anything happen. But when I bring myself to my focus, okay, what am I magnetically aligned to? What is calling me? And I want it. There's my focus. Now, what do I do with this? What do I do with this? And as I focus on that, then I start to build the grounding rod. Now, all that etheric energy around me, the power, if you will, it starts to funnel in. And I suddenly feel very productive and I feel very empowered. I feel like I can make a change, and all I have to do is focus on that calling. And so that's the message from the team at this time. While we're feeling this shift and this getting a taste of this upcoming energy, is to really make sure you're focusing in on what you can do. What are you magnetically drawn to? It's also wanting to be with you. That's the beautiful thing. It's like our destiny in a way, in that what's meant for you can't miss you. And it won't pass you by. You will get there. You will get there. You might be surprised at the means it takes for you to get there, but you will get there. So this calling is here for you. It's magnetic, and it's asking you to focus on it as you do. And then you start asking yourself, how do I utilize this? Right? It's not always a career path, which sometimes it is. Not always. It's what am I going to do with this feeling? Like if you feel that you're here to nurture, maybe you could turn that into a career, possibly, but maybe you can do it in the work you're already doing. And you definitely can do it with those that you love around you, right? We have a ripple effect in that way because we're all connected. And so the energy that you harness, ground, and share will ripple out from you. And it will have that positive effect you're seeking. And all you have to do is work on maintaining that focus and the grounding, right? So that it continues to flow through you. And with that, let's look at this week's karma cards. Right? If you're new to karma cards, let me quickly show you how these work. I have 3 decks here: planets, signs of the zodiac, and the houses of astrology. And I've already asked my team, what is the message for this week? And I've got 2 sets of answers, a set in red, which are action related, and a set in blue, which are outcome related. And the way that you play is you tune in with that beautiful intuition of yours and feel what is the guidance you most would like this week. Are you looking for action related guidance or outcome related guidance? And of course, you can always choose both. And while you're choosing, let me tell you the timing for this reading. This reading is for March 27th through April 3rd. And the flavor of this reading. All right, so we have the planet Venus, which is one of the benefic planets. It's always good to have it. So it's talking about the light touch, the sweet touch, the nurturing energy, the gentleness and love that we can provide in the sign of Capricorn, which balances it out and gives it that really practical, grounded energy. It's like, how am I going to use this? How am I going to channel this energy? What am I going to learn from it? How am I going to materialize it? In the 6th house, which has to do with the balance between how we take care of ourselves and how we take care of other people. All right, for those who are choosing action, your spiritual action at this time is to cherish your goals as a full-time job. I mean, it couldn't be more perfect. I know it almost sounds like I read these and then I gave you the message from the team. I do not. It's all coming through. If you could be here live with me, you would see it. But that's what they're talking about. Focus on your goals. What are you magnetically attracted to? That's your job. That's it. Love that. Isn't that great? Doesn't that take so much pressure off of you? You're not here to save the world. So many people have that complex, I got to save the world. What if the world shifts when you shift what you're focusing on? What if it increasingly gets better if you just do the job that you are magnetically attracted to, the work that you feel like you're here to do? What if you solely focused on that and poured your heart and soul into it like that was the job you were hired to do when you came to planet Earth? Because guess what? It is. Love it. Isn't that easier? I think it's easier. I feel like you could nail it if that's what you focus on. So let's do it. Action at this time. Enjoy the day-to-day reality of serving, right? So the job that you were hired to do on Earth, that is how you are of service. So one, if you were called to be an artist, if you were called to nurture, if you were called to build things, if you were called to create structure and help find resources, whatever it is, one, you're already there's already a love relationship there. On a deep soul level, it feels like the right thing to do because it is, because you chose that. Two, what our job ends up being is staying in alignment. And that's a day-to-day job, right? So we can't assume that once I've aligned to it once, that I'm staying aligned. It's not how energy works because you have free will to change your mind. So you could get really invested in something and then you could turn around and be like, screw it, I'm done. Right? That's the beauty of free will. So the beauty of free will is you're free to come and go, to engage or not engage at your own will. The tricky part of free will is that you have to keep choosing it again. So our day-to-day job is, what am I magnetically aligned to? Am I going to choose it today? I'm choosing it. Okay, go in and do the work. And then you get to enjoy that process. Again, it feels simple when you think about it. It feels so much easier. And I believe that a lot of this feeling of like angst or struggle and stuff, that's the illusion that we're trying to drop. It's actually easier than we think it is because we get so many messages that we should be involved in this and should be involved in that. Some people, maybe that is their internal calling. I'm not going to deny that that's a possibility. But for most of us, there's something else. There is something else that we're called to, and we can get swept up in the story, and we can get swept up in the drama, or we can choose to focus in and choose again that which we're truly magnetized to and really feel here. What's the job you're really here to do? All right. Physical action at this time. Charm, art, and beauty are the way to use the most business-like way and do it a little at a time. Here's what I love about today's reading is it's letting us know that this can be fun. This can be enjoyable. Or as my team said to me in the early days of 2025, it gets to be easy now. What if every challenge is delightful? I am holding that and I'm like, I too have to do this same work. I have to choose it every day. And there are some days where I catch myself going into my old dynamic of what I don't know is hard or it's too challenging. I can easily go into overwhelm, and I've been working on that. I'm like, I have to catch myself when I go into overwhelm. I'm like, why am I choosing this? I know this doesn't get me where I want to go. I just know it causes me to feel like I've wasted energy and I feel more stressed out. So it gets to be easy. Charm, art, and beauty, right? The sweeter, lighter aspect gets to be a part of it. And I think sometimes when it's easy, we tell ourselves, I'm not really doing it. It's too easy, right? Where's the challenge? And I mean, I'm an Aries by nature. I love a good challenge. Challenge is, it's like when you go to the gym, you don't want to lift a light weight. That doesn't feel like you're doing anything. When you lift a heavy weight and you're like, oh my God, and you're trying to do something that feels like a challenge, it tells you mentally, I've really done something. And I'm not saying that's not true, but when it comes easy to you, it's because it's so aligned to you. It's so natural for you. It almost is easy to dismiss it. But that doesn't mean it's not effective. And the most business-like way is the most effective way. It's business is getting things done, right? So the path of ease, and this can be easy and fun and enjoyable, and it can feel like I was born to do this. That also gets things done. And maybe what we're looking at is those bigger, challenging, strenuous experiences maybe feel like we're moving a big boulder. So I've made a big action. And that's one way to do things. It's exhausting sometimes. And if that's the way you think you have to approach life all the time, you'll get to the end point and you might get there faster, but you'll be so freaking exhausted at the end that it won't really be enjoyable. Whereas if you were to take that big boulder and chisel a piece off every day and walk it to the end point and just be like, I'm on a nice walk. And it's at the end, it might take you a little longer, but you'll enjoy the whole process because you didn't overwhelm yourself with too much challenge and too much stress. So again, there is a balance. Be aware if you dismiss the path of ease. We all want it, but I also think that when we get it, we don't believe we're doing anything. And the universe would like you to consider changing your perspective on that maybe you're being just as effective, just a little bit at a time. All right, so now let's look at outcomes for Venus in Capricorn in the 6th house of how you take care of yourself and how you take care of others. Spiritual outcome at this time, the attraction of dedication to achieve service to others. So here's the big point. Attracted to dedication, meaning I'm ready to show up. Now think about it. Let's go back to the boulder metaphor. I can do the hardest task and push that boulder, and I could do it quickly. I don't really have the energy after that's done to do it again, or I'm not looking forward to it because it was a slog, right? It took a lot out of me to do it. And that's where a lot of people feel burnout, right? I pushed really, really hard and now I don't have it in me to do it again. Whereas this little piece at a time where it gets to be easy and I get to go for a nice walk and I get to enjoy the scenery and I'm doing the task, right? I'm just doing it a little bit at a time. I'm not trying to push this whole thing. Well, suddenly I'm enjoying this process and every day I look forward to it. I look forward to chiseling off a piece of that rock, carrying it in my pocket, going on this nice walk, dropping it off at my end point. And I get to watch my progress because I get to watch it and observe it, and I get to feel amazement at my progress and my growth, but I don't feel worn out, which means that I have the energy to be there for other people. And this is that achievement of balance that they're talking about. The 6th house is about trying to find the balance, right? If we push too hard in one direction or another, we're out of balance. If we're only focusing on what's good for us, we're missing what's good for other people. If we're only focusing on what's good for other people, we're missing what's good for us. We got to figure out that both can happen. And oftentimes it means you have to change your approach. That's why the 6th house talks about daily habits. It's like you got to change your approach. If you're pushing yourself so hard, if you're always going for the challenge, if it always has to feel like it's resisting you, what's that doing to you? And can you keep it up? And do you want to keep it up? Honestly, I mean, at some point, I think people just don't want to because it feels so hard. So when we shift our habits, when we go from, I have to do this big thing and make it happen fast to, I just need to approach it again and again every day with consistency. When we make that shift, life feels easier and we feel more balanced. We feel better. We start to enjoy the task and it almost becomes something we look forward to than something we're dreading. And that's the energy that we're going to be more and more attracted to. Mental outcome at this time, pleasure from focusing on what's good for us. Boom, right there. Like I said, you're going to enjoy it. It feels better to take the path that feels most aligned. Now, there might be times where you want to push yourself, or you feel like I need to make a bigger shift, and you'll be able to assess that, but that does not have to be your whole life. And like I said, my team just sort of like chimed in, and it's like, it gets to be easy now. What if that's your mantra? That's what I'm using when I approach situations that I classically stress out about, whether it's building something like I'm building my art business on the side. That's something I'm doing in the background. And I'm building all these pieces, and some of them are kind of technical, others are administrative, others are strategic, and sometimes I just want to create. I just want to make things, and I want to be with my colors and my paints and my ideas. That's where I am so happy, but all these other things have to go with it. And classic Therese in the past would be do it up until the point where the next step stresses you out, and then go into stress and overwhelm and avoidance. And so the mantra I've been taking in is when I feel that pattern try to kick back in, is I just kind of lean back and I'm like, what if this gets to be easy? How about it gets to be easy? My team says it gets to be easy. So I'm going to sit back and think about, how can I make this easier? It's been the best strategy. How can I make this easier? I am clearly trying to push a bigger boulder than I want to. So how can I break this down into smaller pieces and make it more enjoyable? What does it look like if I accept that maybe building this thing is going to take longer than I want, but if I enjoy it more, I will show up more consistently. And it then becomes sort of like the tortoise and the hare situation, right? Where the hare sort of represents the one that wants to push that boulder and make it done quickly, and often gives up or thinks they've got all this time and wastes it, whereas the tortoise is like, just one step at a time, just enjoy. Oh, there's a flower, right? Like, oh, hey, there's my friend, right? That changes how you approach it. Then it's easy to show up every day. All right, now physical outcome at this time. Good times resulting from the rules imposed by your work. Again, they're talking about the limits, right? If you're focusing on yourself, if you're focusing on what you feel magnetically drawn to do, what's the job I signed up for before I came to Earth? What is it that lights me up? There is sort of a limit there. This is the thing that lights you up, right? So like I said, as an artist, this is the thing that lights me up. It doesn't extend into cooking. It doesn't extend into politics. It doesn't extend into the health field. It's this thing. There's a limit to what it is that you feel called to do. If it's working with children, there's the limit, right? You're not working with adults, you're working with children, as an example. Whatever it is you feel magnetically drawn to has a natural boundary. And when we recognize that that's kind of my lane, and it's not like stay in your lane because you can't go outside of it. This is the zone of magic, if you will. If you stay in that zone, it feels really good. Like I said, you'll enjoy the journey. Chiseling a piece of that rock off and going for a walk and dropping it off at its destination feels great. It feels easy, but not insignificant. Don't confuse the two. Sometimes my brain wants to do that. Easy and insignificant, not the same. Just means that it's natural for me. It comes easily to me, right? And it's making an impact. By staying in that zone where I feel the magnetic energy, I'm going to feel good naturally. And that's what it's asking us to consider. Sometimes in our society, we get this idea that we're supposed to be everything, or we can be everything. And it's such a setup. It's actually like an ego trigger. It's an ego trap, and it's a setup. And it's guaranteed to make you feel like crap because we can't be everything all the time. And we're not meant to fix all the problems everywhere. We're meant to do the job that we signed up for when we came here. And again, that job might be nurturing. It could be, I keep using the same words because there's so many jobs that it could be. You know it because you feel it. And when you take off all the, I should do this, I'm supposed to do that, when you take all of that away and you just like what feels really good, what I just keep being drawn to magnetically. There's your focus. Now, how do I utilize it? How do I ground this? How do I make this a practical part of my life? Then it gets to be fun. It gets to be easy. You know where the zone is. You know where the power is and the magic is. And it has a massive effect. You might not see it. My team's like chiming in. It's like, bing, yes. It has a massive effect. We need to trust that. And the more of us doing that, where we're toning in to what we were called here for, and we trust it, and we believe that this is having an impact, even if we just do it a little bit every day, you will see it. And better yet, you're going to be able to enjoy it. So with that, I'm sending you so much love. Mwah. Have a beautiful week.